So in this exercise, we want to get the reverse of a string. So for example, we have this string over here, and the reverse of this string would be reading it backwards. So we start from the last character up until the first character. Let's first of all print the reverse. So let's make a function called reverse, and it takes a character array, so it is a string. Okay, I will call it str like this, and in this function we want to iterate over the elements of this string starting from the last element and down until we reach the first element. So int I will be equal to, over here we should put the index of the last character, so it would be something like this. So strlen of our string -1, so this is the size, and -1 would give us the last character. Now we want to keep decreasing I until we reach the first character, so I would be greater than or equal to 0. So when we reach the last character, which is at the index 0, the loop will work because we have greater than or equal, and after that we will exit the loop. And each time we want obviously to decrease I, so I minus minus. So in this loop, let's say something like this. So printf %c, and each time we want to print the character that we are at, so we are printing str sub I. Now let's call this function over here, so reverse, and give it our string. Run the program. So as you can see, we get the reverse perfectly. Now we are printing the reverse. In order to actually have a copy that is the reverse, we can do something like this. Let's make another string, let's call it reverse, and it would have the size of our str +1, so the same size of our string +1 for the \0. And this function over here would take two strings, the string that we have and the string that will contain the reverse, so char reverse like this. Now let's pass the reverse over here, so we'll give our reverse, and now we want to do something like this. So for example, we want to say reverse sub something over here is equal to str sub I. So at first I is equal to the index of the last character. Let's suppose that we have 10 characters, okay? So at first I is equal to 9. So over here we want this to be the first character in our reverse string, so this should be 0. Then we make I minus minus, so I is equal to 8. So str sub 8 should be the second character of our reverse string, so this over here should be equal to 1. So simply we can define a variable that starts from 0 and we increment it whenever we decrease I. Okay, so I'll define this variable outside the loop, so I'm going to call it j for example, and it starts with 0. Now we can do something like this, so reverse sub j plus plus. So each time we use the current value of j and then we increment it. Okay, and also we can do something like this. Over here we can put a comma and put another expression, so in this case we can do j plus plus. And also over here we can put a comma and define another variable of type integer. So now we put the name of the variable over here, so for example j is equal to 0. So this over here can be removed. So we are defining two variables to work inside the loop, and we are decreasing I and increasing j. So first of all we have 0, 9, then 1, 8, and this will continue until I is equal to 0 and the j will be equal to 9. So as you see, we have the reverse inside this string, but we are still missing the \0. Because we are constructing this string manually, we have to add it manually. So reverse sub strlen of str, so this would be the index of our \0, which is equal to the size, is equal to \0 like this. Now let's run the program. As you see, we have an error. This is because the name of this variable is the same as the name of the function. So let's rename this function to something like reverse string, and now over here let's call reverse string. Build the program again, so we have no errors, but obviously we are not printing the string, so let's put as the reverse. Now run the program again, and we have the reverse perfectly. Now let me comment this line of code, and hopefully we will see something abnormal in the output. Run the program, and yes, as you can see, we have an extra character. So you see the importance of our \0 in this case. So the idea behind this exercise is to see how to iterate backwards on an array and specifically on a string. Actually, it's the same thing. The string is an array in C, right? And don't forget the \0. Now, let me add one thing before ending this video. So let's suppose that we want to reverse the original string. So we don't want another string, okay? So since we don't want another string, this string over here is not needed, right? And this function should only take the original string. And after we reverse it, we will print it. So put as str. Now inside this function, let's first modify this parameter. Now inside the function, we have to reverse this string. So we can do something like this. I'm going to make an array called reverse. It is the same one we had in our main function, and its size is similar to our original array. Now I'm getting the reverse of our original array inside this string reverse. Now all I need to do is do the following. So for int I equals 0, I is less than strlen of str, and over here we can also use reverse because now this array has the same characters and it has a \0. So we can use strlen without any problems. And I++. So over here str sub I will be equal to reverse sub I. Now let's run the program, and as you can see, whenever we print the original array, we get this output. And over here the \0 exists because originally this string had these characters and after them there is \0. And in this loop over here, we only modified these characters over here. We never modified the character containing \0, okay? And we can verify this. So printf %d str sub strlen of str equals \0 like this. So let me comment this put s, run the program. Oops, what did I do over here? So I'm printing a character of the array which index is the result of this expression. I did this by mistake. So this piece of code should be out here. So this character should be equal to \0. Run the program again, and as you can see, we have true. Perfect. Now you might have a question, what happens with this array? As we know, for example, when we define a variable inside the scope of the for loop, whenever the for loop ends, this variable dies. Similarly, this array over here, we defined it inside the scope of this function. So whenever this function call ends, this array is destroyed. But the array in our main function remains as it is. And what's important over here is that arrays are passed by reference. So the change over here will affect the string in our main function. So this is it for this video. I hope you are getting a lot, and I'll see you in the next one.